Hello, basketball fans. DC Hewitt here from Fantasy Basketball Analyzer. We're getting ready for week 21 in the fantasy basketball season. So, for some of you, your fantasy playoffs are actually starting next week, or this week, depending on when you're watching it. A lot of us have it starting next week on the 22nd week, the 22nd week, I mean. All right. So, we're going to take a look at the schedule. We'll talk about some free agent moves. I dive in a little more into like some streaming options if you're in a daily change league. Usually I focus kind of on weekly leagues because that's what I enjoy more. Um, but at this time of year, I feel like a lot of the weekly leagues are really set. So I will take a little extra time to focus on some streamers for you. We have an interesting week. Last week, whereas most teams played 4 games, so you're able to really roll it out. We've got 6 teams that are only playing 2 games. Let's go ahead and bring that up. And we only have 6 teams that are playing 4 games. So most are playing 3. You can get that 4 game advantage. And there's a whole bunch of teams that are like by default do not play. So the 2 gamers are Detroit, Indy, Philly, Phoenix, Sacramento, Toronto. So besides your superstars, and it's not a ton of superstars in there, at least not that they're healthy, they probably aren't really playable if you're in a weekly locks league at all. If you're in a daily move league, then those 2 games mean you have even extra opportunity potentially to stream because you're going to have, you know, Darius Saric or whoever that you have on your team that you can cut out because there's only playing 2 games and get someone else in there, or be trying to shuffle the deck all the time. So with that, let's go ahead and bring up the pace, see if anything's changed, and then we can start talking about our strength of schedule and stuff. If I'm looking at the pace here for week 21, they're the usual suspects at the top. Memphis, through just like mere decimal points, dropped down out of the teams we're targeting to attack. But I think that just highlights the fact that Golden State, Houston, San Antonio, Memphis are all in that 106 range, and I didn't highlight them as someone that we're really going after. But I do think they're still worth attacking, right? They're not defenses that scare us. Um, San Antonio and Golden State actually have really weak defense. Memphis's defense has been slowly improving, which is a bit of a surprise right now. But I guess maybe that's just the idea of getting Gorgie Jang and stuff in there, because they've got all the injured forwards, but their pace is also picking up, so it's kind of keeping them right in that same range. Down at the bottom, again, usual teams that like play a little bit slower or have a really efficient defense. Toronto, Boston, Indiana. Milwaukee plays fast but has a great defense. Philly, Lakers. This is the highest I think Orlando's actually gone, meaning Orlando almost edged their way out of the list. They're right there with that Miami OKC group that, I don't normally highlight. They're all still in that range, but they're kind of lumping together as we get into the weirdness that is March, just in time for the fantasy playoffs. All right, so let's take those numbers and apply them over to the week. So we're looking at the teams, and we've got, like I said, there's 6 of the teams that have 2 games, which means you're probably not playing them anyway. Handful of teams with 4 games. If you see any of the games that I highlighted with a red box around it, that means that both teams playing are slower teams playing, right? So Denver plays the Bucks. Well, technically the Bucks are a fast-paced team, but they've got great defense, so they're on the bottom of the chart, right? And Denver plays a bit slower, and efficiency-wise shows it as a good defense. So when they play each other, that overall is a less desirable fantasy matchup. And it stands out extra because it's Monday, and Monday only has 3 games. Excuse me. So with 3 games, there could be streamers there available, and that's not necessarily a game you really want to attack. In daily fantasy, you're not going to have much of a choice if you're playing DraftKings or something. But that was something I wanted to highlight. So throughout the week, you'll see on Tuesday we got Indiana, Boston. Thursday we got Milwaukee, Boston. We've got a couple matchups. So overall, if you're picking up on that, Milwaukee only has 3 games. They don't have a great week. Denver, Boston, Golden State. I mean, they're Milwaukee. So from an NBA sense, I'm not too afraid of what they're seeing. But, they could drop a game to Boston. You never know. They are home. So hopefully they won't. Just because it's fun to see a team trying to get to 70. But you can look at the schedule and kind of see what's going here. Like New York only has 3 games, but they get Washington, Atlanta on a back-to-back. So if you're looking for streaming, those are really nice matchups. If there's anyone out there that you're thinking about, or someone that you're thinking about cutting, maybe you hang on to them until the middle of the week before you make that move in your daily change league. All right, overall, I think you could probably look at this and see what I'm seeing from strength of schedule. OKC has 2 good games, being Minnesota and Washington, but they also only have 3-game week. None of the 4-game teams really stand out, right? Charlotte's got pretty good matchup. Not too excited about Charlotte players, but we're going to talk about them more with some free agent pickups. But Charlotte gets to play Atlanta and Cleveland, which are faster pace, but Miami and Orlando that aren't. So all the weeks are kind of mixed bags like that. I guess Cleveland's got a pretty good week. Chicago, Charlotte, Atlanta, but it's only 3 games. So it's all just kind of, pick your poison a little bit. So let's take a look at the back-to-backs and show this here. So if you're trying to do something in particular, I mentioned that New York gets a Washington-Atlanta back-to-back, which is nice. Dallas has a back-to-back. Those are the only back-to-backs in the first half of the week. So for this first 3 days, if you're trying to make one move to play someone twice, that's it. So for streaming days, and I'll bring up a chart about it, but we're really looking at Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. So there's no real attack back-to-backs, but that's why maybe Dallas and New York stand out, because Wednesday is a potential streaming day and they get the back-to-back. So if you make a move now, I'm recording this Sunday. So if you make a move now or you're watching this Monday, you might be able to pick someone up and be prepped for those couple days. And then a lot of teams have the back-to-backs in the second half. Boston, Brooklyn. If you're going through here, you can look at that, especially the Thursday, Friday, because Thursday is another potential day that you want to be streaming there. But no one got the Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back, which would have been awesome for you streamers out there. So again, you can take a screenshot. I include the link below in the comments. I try and pin it to the top to the page so you can bring that up. But let's go ahead and jump from here, these things that you kind of read yourself, to a different tab I added to the Excel sheet. So I added an actual streaming tab to the sheet this time. I'm saying Excel, but it's Google Sheets. I should give credit where it's due. So Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, those are the days that we're talking about for potentially streaming, just because they have less games, right? They have 6 or less games, so you can be getting a lot of people in there. So Charlotte and Denver are the 2 teams that have 3-game weeks. Sorry, that have 3 games on streaming days. So Charlotte has a 4-game week, and so does Denver, but 3 of those games fall on the low populated days. So if you pick someone up from Charlotte or Denver in your weekly moves or your daily change league, there's a good chance you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck on that move and get someone in there. So I mentioned at the start of the show when I was talking about I feel like a lot of the rosters are kind of set here going for the playoffs. You could look if there's a big injury or something, Carl Anthony Towns still isn't back. He's probably going to miss another couple of weeks. So I think James Johnson, if you haven't taken my advice from other weeks, I think he's a really good pickup still. So there was some fear, I remember Keith even commenting on the last show, hey, what do we make the move or stuff? And I was saying, I still like James Johnson even if Cat comes back. But if Cat's going to miss another 2 weeks, I think him and Nas are worth owning still. And so those could affect your season-long plans in your playoffs. There might be something there. But overall, I feel like a lot of the waiver wire now is probably people in daily change leagues trying to stream them out. And so beyond James Johnson, Terrance Ross, I also want to mention, he's 69% owned. Most of you can't get him, but I was able to pick him up in last week in one of my leagues, which is usually pretty hard. Usually I'm recommending people that aren't even available in my more competitive leagues than, say, the general Yahoo public leagues where people drop out. Anyway, Ross is 69% owned, so you probably aren't going to be able to get him. But if you look at the last 14-day average, he's 35th overall in value. That's for non-turnovers, 8 categories I'm talking about. A big part of that is that he's hitting 4 threes a game. That really buoys his value. So it's worth taking a look and see if Ross is out there. Now, Orlando's only playing 3 games this week, but at least 2 of their games are on the low populated days. They get to play Chicago and Charlotte on Thursday and Sunday. So if somehow Ross is available to stream in the second half, then you might be able to pick him up and take a look at that and get him in there. So if someone cuts bait, be ready to pounce. Otherwise, we're kind of looking at some players that, are on largely Charlotte or Denver because they have the advantageous schedule. The exception of what I was saying, my list is going to focus a lot on Charlotte and Denver options. Someone I just want to mention is Shake Milton. He's 53% owned. So in most leagues, he's not going to be available. But Philly only has 2 games this week. So again, we're just trying to find any edge we can. His playoff schedule, assuming you're your playoffs are the next 3 weeks, which is the Yahoo default. His schedule, he's got 4 games, 3 games. So he has a pretty good playoff schedule, and Phillies has a 2-game week right now. A lot of the Phoenix players are like this too. They get 3 games, 4 for the playoffs, and they have a 2-game week. So ownership might drop right now. So I think I'd keep an eye on Shake Milton and see if there's a chance to kind of pounce in there and get him. He's playing really well right now. And his ownership has jumped 24% in the last day on Yahoo. So he jumped to 53% ownership. He doubled his ownership. So by the time you're watching this, who knows what happened? But maybe people pounced, picked him up. They're going to see it's a 2-game week and drop him again. And maybe you can go grab him for the playoff run. There could be a lot of value there. On the flip side of that, someone who also made a huge jump, Aron Baynes, jumped 15% in ownership up to 24% because he just had his career high in points. Oh, I'm seeing this reflection on my glasses. Stitch those. Aron Baynes jumped up 15%. He's 24% owned right now. He just had his career high in points. But Phoenix only has a 2-game week right now. So I would not be in a hurry to pick him up right now. If you did pick him up, you might be able to cut him right away before you even need to roll him out there. Phoenix plays Portland Tuesday. So it's a good matchup if you want to hang on to him for that. But then you'd be hanging on to him all week to get Dallas on Saturday. It's just really not worth it to me. Along these kind of odds and edge, I mentioned Portland because of the Phoenix matchup. Yusuf Nurkic is actually been cleared to return and could be returning soon. So if you're in a league with an IR, he's still marked as injured in the game. You could probably pick him up from free agency. And slot him right into your team in IR. I'm not sure he's going to make an impact for you on your fantasy team here in the stretch run. But if you have the injured spot and it's open, I say you grab him. One, to just have him in case he is of value. Portland's still trying to contend for that last playoff spot. I don't think they're going to overwork him, so I don't think it's going to be fantasy valuable. But if I'm wrong, you have him. But also if I'm wrong, no one else has him. So if you have the injured spot and can make that move, I would advise doing it. Go see if Nurk's available. Just pick him up, stash him, kind of keep him away from your enemies. Opponents. Okay, some options I think might actually be available and be able to help you this week. Monte Morris is owned in 9% of leagues. He's getting 50 over the last 2 weeks. All my stats, I'm running the 14-day average because if I'm looking at streaming, I'm trying to look at a smaller sample size. 53% from the floor. He's getting a 3-game and a steal and a half. So it's nothing too exciting, but they have a really good streaming matchup by getting three games on low populated days, 3 streaming days. Someone who excites me a little bit more is Jerami Grant. He's getting 50% from the floor, but he's getting he's getting a 3.5 and over a steal a game as well. But overall, his just stat line feels a little better. He's getting more points. He's contributing a bit more. He's 36% owned. So you get Jerami Grant and you can get 4 games out of him this week or get to stream him potentially for 3 of those games. I feel like there's a real move that in the daily change leagues that you might want to make. If you're looking for some more rebounds and blocks, this one's a bit of a reach and it'll only be for a daily change league. But Bismack Biyombo hasn't played the last 3 games. Charlotte's been doing this weird rotation with their center. So if they set him down for 3 games, I think he's going to play for the next 2 weeks. If they keep pace, that's what's been happening with their big guys. So they're resting him. He should be coming back for the week. He's going to get a 4-game week. You'd only be doing this, like I said, over the last 14 days, he's averaging 6 rebounds and a block and a half. So you wouldn't want to lock him into your weekly lock league, especially because maybe he's not playing. This could be wrong. But I would watch him if you are trying to do it, whether it's Roto or whatever, and you're streaming in there. Biyombo's got 3 games on the good streaming days, so you might be able to plug him in just to get you blocks and steals. He's not really going to hurt you anywhere. He's just not going to bring a lot. But because he's playing on these low populated days, only 3 teams play at all on Monday. So if you're in daily changer league, rather than taking zeros, you could start getting some blocks and rebounds, assuming he's playing. But he hasn't played for the last 3 games. So he's only, 4% owned. All right, a bit more, maybe less traditional of stats, but also in Charlotte, PJ Washington's 47% owned, but he's getting 2.7 3-pointers over the last 14 days. Same thing goes. Charlotte's playing 4 games. They get 3 for this. You plug them in, get a bunch of threes, and you get to get them from, from one of your big positions, which you're not always getting. All right, beyond that, without a specific player in mind, I just wanted to mention that right now, if you're looking to pick someone up, no one really stood out for me, but Utah is the only team here with 15 games left, right? They play 4 this week, and then they've got a 4-3-4 playoff schedule. So everyone else has 14 games or less. If there is someone available in your league that you want to pick up and go out there and grab from Utah, then now would be the time, because they're going to get a lot of bang for your buck, right? Brooklyn's similar, but Brooklyn's unfortunately got that 2-game week next week in the potential start of your playoffs. But otherwise, they've got 4 games all the way throughout. So I don't think anyone's going to go crazy next week and drop Caris LeVert or something like that. But you could keep an eye on that and try and swoop in there. But that's just kind of a look at the overall remaining schedule if you're trying to figure out some things here. What you're looking for. And I wanted, we're getting down to crunch time, so it's worth kind of thinking, not just this week, but also thinking ahead for that. Otherwise, that'll do it for me, DC Hewitt, Fantasy Basketball Analyzer. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like. Please subscribe. Leave a comment. Those things really tell YouTube that people are engaging with the show. So the likes and comments, even if it's just like, thanks again, that really does help me. But thank you for watching. I'll talk to you again later this week. Go out there and win your week.